So I just want to talk through the best drills to do if you're going to be using the GForce swing trainer. And your normal clubs, right? You know, even if you haven't got one of these, I want to be able to help you understand, you know, the sort of drills that you should be doing, how to set up, and then what drills to do when you're working on your swing. Most important thing is when you set up, you've got to get your posture right. So pick up something heavy. You know, this is a 10k slam ball. You could probably use the 5. You know, it all depends on your strength really, but find a heavy object sort of sets you up into a nice posture there. You can see, for me to stay balanced, I'm just letting my arms hang down with the weight of the ball, and you can pretty much draw a line down from my arm, center of my armpit, through the front of my kneecap, and then into the ball of my feet. Because from there, what I can do is actually pivot my body properly without losing balance. Now, if I get too far forward here, too much weight forward, you know, I feel like I'm going to lose balance. So getting something heavy is really going to help you get your posture, and then that's going to help you get your pivot. And also your shoulder turning properly. You can see how my left shoulder goes down as I swing back, and my right shoulder goes down as I swing through. So posture, and then you pivot and your shoulder tilt. I can't stress enough, when you're turning, you actually want your shoulders to point down. So your left shoulder is going to point down towards the golf ball, because it's going to help you stay in your posture as you go back. So it's going to keep the club on plane. A lot of people, when they go back, when they turn, come up out of it, so the shoulders are turning to level. So you want that left shoulder going down, left hip and left knee go down towards the floor, and then when you shift your weight forward and then transition, it's the opposite. Right knee, right hip, right shoulder goes down. So use the club. Make sure if you're warming up before you play that you're always doing this and not doing this, okay? So it's important to get that angle right. The other thing you should do, and this will test your flexibility, how far you can turn and maintain your spine angle. Get your head up against the wall into your posture, and then from there, again, just sort of turning left shoulder down. See how far you can go. So I'm pretty flexible. I can go all the way down. I can turn fully and keep my head on the wall. A lot of you won't be able to do that. So you want to get to the point, you know, where if you feel like to carry on, your head's coming off the wall, you know that you're coming up out of your posture. So even if you can only get to sort of here, keeping your head on the wall, that's your limit for your swing. I wouldn't even bother trying to go any further back, because you're going to lose your posture. So just get it to there, and you're going to hit the ball more solid and further from that position than you ever will from this position. So that's a really important drill you want to work on. And it's the pivot that's going to give you the rhythm and tempo in your swing. That's all it is. So you can see if my body pivots properly, my arms and club swing just like that clock pendulum, back and through. So the energy is coming from the pivot. It's not coming from my hands or arms. This is what everybody else is doing. So if you try and, you know, force the club with the hands and arms, you're not going to do it. You've got to get that pivot. You know, using the slam ball, you've got to get that left shoulder down as you're going back, and then getting the arms and club to swing like a clock pendulum. And then you want to stand there and just do it continuously. Good thing to do is get something heavier, not like a gym bar here, because when you do it with something a lot heavier, body responds to it more. That's why I like using the slam ball. So this will train you to pivot properly and then create that clock pendulum, and you can just keep working further back, further through. You can do full swings. The weight of it will cock your wrist properly. Do half swings, because you'll quickly find out if you're not doing it right, because there's so much weight in this. You know, if you're swaying, going back, or coming through, you've got too much weight back and coming over the top, you're going to fall off it. So it really helps your body get in the right position. as you can see there. And I can sort of feel the momentum as it goes back and then through. So then when you grab a club, you can sort of feel that as well. And it's really getting a feeling that's more important than thinking. So get that feeling, left shoulder down. And then just hit those little half shots. Nice and solid. So that's the best way to work on your posture. In your pivot, pick up something heavy, do some swings, and then using the GForce swing trainer, when you get that pivot right, you're just trying to keep the shaft nice and straight. You're not trying to bend it too much. That's all you want to try and do with it. Smooth. So as you go back, you're stretching the shaft out as you go back. Then as you come through and release, you stretch out as you come through. So we never want to be pushing back too much with the hands or arms, and we certainly don't want to be shoving it through on the way through. So it's really the pivot, the engine of your swing, getting the arms and club to swing like a human pendulum, and then just keeping the shaft, keeping tension through it as you go back and through. When you do it, you want to stay dead centered. Okay, so I see a lot of you when you swing back is you tend to shift off the ball too much. So your head, your spine needs to stay very centered when you go back. Best thing to do, I've got my mirror here, I've got the frame down the middle. What I tend to do is I sort of set up with the frame in the center of my chest, and then as I'm looking in that mirror, I really want to try and just pivot around that point. So as I get to the top of the swing, I feel like I've stayed centered. If anything, I feel like I'm moving slightly forward of the frame there. So it looks like this. So it feels like my upper body's actually moving to the target a little bit. This is something I picked up out of gears as well. The spine, it actually tilts towards the target when you swing back, which is how I've always swung it. And that's when I've struck the ball the best. So as I go back, I feel like my spine is actually going from starting vertically, but then it's actually tipping slightly towards the target on the way back. I know a lot of you have been told to, you know, get it set up behind the ball and maintain that, but it's not right. When you look at the evidence that I've got, it's completely wrong, and I believe that's why a lot of people are really struggling with the game.